Okay. So the word in the streets, ladies and gentlemen, is that some people want Ruben Loftus-Cheek to play as right wing back against Real Madrid. Let's talk about this.
All right. Here we go, back again on the other side of the coin.
All right, welcome back to the other side of the coin, ladies and gentlemen. I got my boy Ryan Gunness back here again. I needed to do this because he himself actually is advocating for this as well. But there are certain parts of the Chelsea fan base and some pretty large, influential ones through social media. They're kind of advocating that Ruben Loftus-Cheek, they've seen something against Southampton that perhaps fancies them to play him against Real Madrid in that same position. So we're gonna talk about this in many different angles. We're gonna look at some social media stuff. We're gonna talk about it through the board, through Ryan, and we're gonna also do some punditry on it. Just to give it a wholesome sort of feel around the whole thing and give you guys to decide whether he should play there or not. We're going to give our statements, but it's up to you. But before we do that, Ryan, how you doing, my man?
Good, bro. Good. I got to watch the Southampton match. So wow. We listen. A lot of you were telling me it was really open. I
Yeah.
admit they were really open on the wing, on the flanks. They were really open. But I would say they were really compact in midfield, and I was really happy to see how Chelsea dealt with breaking on their first
Nice.
and second line of defense.
Mm.
A lot of good improvements. I know I always am harsh on the players and Tuchel
You are.
when they don't show improvement, right? So I want
Yeah.
to be here to say I'm happy that I saw improvement in this game and how we approached a
Mm.
middle to low block, and I hope that we could continue on this part. But yeah, I can't wait to get into it, bro.
But I'm really excited because it's sometimes I think it's very difficult to see everything tactically live match. That's why you've got the privilege most of the times to watch it again. I would at times love to watch it again, but time constraints kills me. But it'll be interesting to see what you have to say. Before we get into the board, let's have a look at some of the social media stuff, Ryan. I put out a poll a few hours ago stating what the Chelsea fan would like to see. So I've said, Ruben Loftus-Cheek to play as a right wing back against Real Madrid. Comment on your reasoning behind your selection. Yes, 27.6%. A massive no, 72.4%. This is out of 1,015 votes. So it's a decent number of votes. I just want to quickly show you some of the comments. No chance. It worked against a poor Southampton, so I'm not trying to see him 1v1 against Vinny. A few other people are saying no. RJ is our best right wing back by far, and I don't think it would be wise to test out how good Ruben Loftus-Cheek is our right wing back against Madrid after one good performance.
Yeah.
Akash is saying definitely not. Reece to play at right wing back, and I would go with Kova and Georgie in midfield, a front three of Mount Kai and Ziyech. So that's that. I just want to quickly show you some of his stats to Ryan and to all the people that are watching this video right now. Ruben Loftus-Cheek at right wing back against Southampton, 68 touches, 37 passes, 88 passing accuracy, 2 chances created. There were actually very good chances created. 5 out of 6 aerial duels, which is fantastic. 7 out of 10 ground duels. 6 fouls suffered, 2 tackles, 1 clearance, 1 interception, 1 block. And lastly, ladies and gentlemen, this is what Thomas Tuchel, the man himself, had to say about Ruben Loftus-Cheek. The role was a bit different. As a wing-back today, we wanted him to be inside almost as a number 8 and drive with the ball. We tried it, he accepted it, and made the most of it. It was a very good performance. I honestly, that's how I saw, but I feel Ryan, what he was saying earlier today in the watch along for the City versus Liverpool, he was saying he saw a little bit more than just that. So I'm really keen to see that side of things. Ryan, you've now seen what social media people are talking about, what Thomas Tuchel had to say as well, some stats. Take it away, my man.
All right. Yeah. I did see that, but I didn't see him there as much as I thought I would. Seeing the tweets and seeing what Tuchel said and this and that, I expected him to be more like how João Cancelo is in that kind of midfield role, but
I
it
really
wasn't
like that
as much that
comparison.
I
That's a
thought he
top
was.
comparison.
Yeah, but he was really I thought he was really wide for a lot of sections of the game, even when we switched play and stuff. But let's get into it, right? So there's what we saw today, right? I mean,
Mm.
yesterday.
Yesterday,
What
yeah.
I saw today and what you all saw yesterday is that Southampton pressed with a 4-4-2, right? Tuchel expected this. He said this. And what happened is that I said that their front two press is really lethargic, and that is where the
Mm.
problem started off for Southampton. It was lethargic. Instead of these guys pressing, let's get some balls out here.
Mm-hmm.
But um, instead of these guys pressing aggressively and choking this back three, even though they are at a disadvantage numerically,
Mm-hmm.
um, they didn't. They didn't. It wasn't like that at all. Instead, it was kind of slanted, a one-on-one lethargic press. And what that
Mm.
did is it invited these wingers here to press
Mm.
forward, right? To press forward, almost looking like a front four at times. But
Mm.
as you know, we build from side to side, right? Let's go on this side because this is where Loftus-Cheek is. So
Yep.
what that would do is that would bring in this presser here. All of a sudden, you can see that now there's a bunch of space for Loftus-Cheek to start a room into to get into.
There was a
Um,
lot of space for him.
yes,
A lot.
a lot of space for him. And a lot of people said, oh, yes, in my mind, before watching the game, I thought it's a 4-4-2. So everybody's saying Loftus-Cheek was inverted. So I'm thinking he would invert into midfield, making a 3v2 advantage.
Mm.
But that was not the case, actually. I don't think he was the one to actually make that 3v2 advantage. Instead, what I saw, it was kind of like Mason
Mount.
Mount
Yeah.
to drop
Yeah.
in deep to make that advantage, right?
That's why he found himself at the edge of the box a lot of the time, and he was also finding diagonal balls to Ruben Loftus-Cheek from midfield.
Yeah. And even if you see this now, is that you can see that from this kind of play here, you can see that now there is a 3v2 advantage. Let me get all
Yep.
these lines.
Yep.
But there's a kind of triangle that pops out here,
Mm.
right? A 3v2 advantage over this wide midfielder here or these
Mm.
wide midfielders here. And what that does, it allows easy passing lanes to get to these players, whether it's to Kante to Mount or to Loftus-Cheek to Mount, etc. What was a big game changer though, instead of this wing fullback
Yeah.
dropping to close down Loftus-Cheek or Mount, what we saw every time was Kai would drop in as a right winger, right?
Mm.
So he would be a direct outlet for probably long balls or whatever runs in behind. A direct outlet where you'd see that Loftus-Cheek would get the ball and release it on for Kai or for Mount.
Mm.
It could be making an inverted run, and then Werner would get into striking
Yep.
positions,
Yep. Yep. Yep.
right? And then Alonso would
That's
try
why
would
Werner found
attack.
himself with so many crosses as well. He should have had
Yes,
6 goals.
and this is how we ended up really playing. What would happen there is that Kai wouldn't only stay there; he would end up, getting into positions like here and stuff. And what would happen now is that a lot of the times players would recognize this threat and they would start trying to cut lines to Mason Mount and then mark Kai, right?
Mm. Mm. Mm.
What this did now was it allowed Loftus-Cheek to get into a lot of space from inverted positions. Because we
Mm.
know Loftus-Cheek likes to run with the ball from inverted positions when he has
Yep.
that freedom. He wouldn't want to
Yes.
take it here and run here. So
Yep.
what he did is many times the starting position of these players would be here.
Mm.
So they could create that space for Loftus-Cheek to get the ball. And then after we would see Kai again getting wide and Mason making an inverted run. Now there's
Mm.
all the space to pass it into and for Ruben to get into these inverted positions more, where he can send crosses in, where he can give
And
Mount
he
a
did,
run
he
in
did
behind.
where he put in across exactly where you are, and he found Mason, and then Mason then laid it off to Alonso. for that first goal.
Yeah. The problem with this setup for Real Madrid is that simply, as we saw last week, Real Madrid do not, and I stress, do not defend in a 4-4-2. They do not.
Yeah,
Well, they did not defend in a 4-4-2 against us. I'm sure
they
in
defended,
other
I think, with a 3, right? 3-3-3-1, was it? 3-1,
no,
3-1.
they attacked with a 3-1-3-1.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So what they ended up doing is that they had Valverde as a wing back
Oh, yeah,
and they had
yeah,
Mendy as a wing back.
yeah,
What that did is it created a back five, right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
all of a sudden you would see that now Loftus-Cheek would be directly marked. Even if there was a wide run from Kai, he would be
They've
marked
got a
by
marker.
Alaba, right?
Yeah,
He wouldn't get
yeah,
marked
yeah.
by. So now, as you can see, sorry, let's get a 5-3-2. That's how they defend it,
This is
right?
so interesting. You're literally playing out the game. I mean,
Yeah.
that's if assuming that
So
Ruben Loftus-Cheek plays.
so the thing is, last time, right, and last time we had our wing backs pretty advanced, and we would have our, this two wouldn't press too much, so we would have our wide CBs really getting into midfield positions, etc. And we would have our wing backs really high up, right? Having our wing backs really high up means that they were engaged by the opposition's full wing backs. But what you can see, there's now horizontality between these 5 defenders.
Yeah.
What does this horizontality do? Not only does it allows it to man mark our attackers 5v5, what it does is that it allows their backline to keep compact, right? And for one reason, I may opt for having Loftus-Cheek as an inverted wingback versus Real Madrid, right? Is that instead of him starting position here, what he can do is that,
inside.
because many times this midfielder would press forward, right? To make like a 5-2-3. We saw Modric doing that, Cruz doing that, right? So it would end up being a 5-2-3. So they would have some space here, right? If Loftus-Cheek drops into here, what it would do is it would drag that wing back, right? Out of position. So it ruins that horizontality of the back five, right? From this position, what could happen now is that now Kai could get into that right winger position, stretching Alaba.
Stretching that guy, yeah.
Now Mason Mount can make those inverted runs.
Yeah, and then you have
And
someone
now
like if Timo plays.
Timo Werner is in
the
the clear.
Burns.
1v1 versus Courtois into this Rosette.
Bring on the remontada. I love this.
And but yeah, I remember this guy here, this third, this is Carvajal, right? So this isn't like a Christensen or something who could tuck in and be center back. So he wouldn't be here. Let's be honest, when Alonso makes those runs into the box, Valverde isn't going to follow him all here. That's not his job.
Yep.
And now I think Nacho has to play instead of who got Militao.
Yeah, Militao is suspended. Yeah.
So all of a sudden you really spread that back five. Right? You spread it and you dismantle it, and this is something we were trying to do last time and we couldn't. But what I think, Miz, is that while this is all good, do not expect Loftus-Cheek in this position to have the space that he got again.
That's the issue. Because who's that player going to be that's marking Ruben Loftus-Cheek? That's going to be Nacho, right?
No, that'll be Mendy.
Oh, Mendy. He'll be a lot tighter to Ruben Loftus-Cheek than Kyle Walker-Peters.
Yeah. And not only that is that but the thing is, for this puzzle to work, we want Mendy to come. Right? Because that's the only way it works. If they keep the horizontal.
Yeah, what if Mendy doesn't want to come? What if Mendy goes, you know what, Ruben, you have that space. That's you. You do what you want to do.
Yeah, well then that'll be bad for them because now they have a bunch of space in midfield where we could drop into the pockets and stuff and play around them. They would never do that. They wouldn't do that. Um, but thinking about this, we want Mandy to come in this position, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the way how we start stretching that back line. But the thing is, so don't expect Ruben to have the freedom as in Southampton, but that doesn't mean it wouldn't be a good idea tactically. We mightn't
Yeah.
see Ruben flourish, but what we'd see is our team flourish. That's my whole thing. I don't need Ruben to flourish. But,
Now, yeah.
Ms., I want to say is that while Ruben does this good, there's a whole other side to the defensive side and stuff. But before we get into that, let's say what you have to say.
I was just going to say, this is the question that the fan base has, and as you saw in some of the comments, and I want to pose that to you, Ryan. But Ryan, why Ruben Loftus-Cheek? Why all of a sudden we want to put him to do this particular role? Why can't Reece James do that? I kind of know why. Maybe because Ruben Loftus-Cheek in that midfield role is in that inverted midfield sort of role,
Like
he's probably far more suited than Reece James. So I want to hear from you. Well, why not Reece James doing that role?
I think naturally Loftus-Cheek looks better in these positions.
Yeah.
Because he is a central midfielder, right?
Yep.
But I feel that with instructions, Reece James could do a job there and could become a really good player to ask those different. We always wanted players to ask those different questions from these positions. I think Reece James could probably put in better crosses from these positions than Loftus-Cheek. The only thing I would say Loftus-Cheek probably have the better
drive.
out of him is driving forward.
Yeah.
And I also think that final pass is probably a bit better. I feel like Reece James is good at crossing and stuff, but I still feel that a lot of times Reece James wouldn't really see that pass as good as a natural central midfielder.
1v1 as well, maybe Ruben Loftus-Cheek
Yes.
could take players on.
I would say that is the pros for Loftus-Cheek. But Miz, there's a huge problem defensively.
Let's talk about defense. Yes.
And that's, as you can see while we're talking.
Now you're going to kill my remontada, aren't you? You're going to kill all my remontada.
I never said remontada. I said Werner cracked it to row Z, right? I said row Z.
Bro, as soon as you move Werner into that space, I swear I felt like we were winning, bro.
Nah, I said he hit the to row Z, bro. But as you can see, 4-3-3 here, yes. So yes, they set up another 3-1-3-1 to attack, but if you look at it 3-1-3-1, it kind of is like 4-3-3, right? So you could just watch it like 4-3-3, or you could watch it 3-3-1-3, any way you want to watch it.
Yeah.
But for the purpose of this, let's just say it's a 4-3-3, right? Because that's how they start on paper.
Yeah.
What will happen here, right? I want to have. First thing we need to think about defensively is the big thing. Who is going to mark Vinicius Jr.? I know that I don't want Ruben Loftus-Cheek, someone with so much inexperience in that position, to mark Vinicius 1v1. So what that would end up doing is that, hold on. Let me try to get my boy in. I would want Reece James to, let me just put Christensen out here, right? Sorry.
Bro, you were so prepared. You even had Reece James prepared to come in as a sub straight away.
Yeah. So I want Reece James to man mark Vinicius 1v1. I want him to be on his case, right?
Yes.
Right? Because we know he's capable of it. But the problem with, you see how this tactical board is set up here, is that we see Vinicius in an inside forward role, but that's not how Vinicius plays, right? If you know Vinicius, if you watch him while on the transition or when Real Madrid is counter-attacking, he assumes a very wide left mid position here.
Yes.
So if Reece James has the man mark Vinicius,
he's got to be so high up with him. He's going to leave acres of space.
What is that going to do? Now Benzema has freedom to run rampant in these spaces here, to have runners running in behind, to have Vinicius running behind to losing Reece James, which he probably could. And that's going to be disastrous first.
Do you think perhaps Christensen, because let's be honest, as great as Thiago Silva is, and he's supremely great, there's a reason why he plays in a back three, and Thomas Tuchel has said that we don't want him to run around too much. We want him to marshal that area.
Yeah.
His vision, his awareness is what will trump him from not having that elite pace as he once used to have. Not that he's slow. I'm not one of those fans that's going to say, "Oh, Thiago Silva doesn't have the pace." No. It's not that at all. I just don't want him to run around so much. And if you're marking Benzema, Benzema is going to move around.
Well,
Is Christensen probably better suited?
no, because I think that you need to be really smart. Yes, you want to close down Benzema as much as possible. Remember, Benzema is moving so they can move you. So you have to make that right decision to know when to move and when not to move. You're not just gonna follow him around, because
Yeah.
if you follow him around 100% of the time, you're falling into the trap where he's trying to create space for Vinicius running behind.
Yeah.
So that's why Thiago would know when to run in here or when to stay here put, because controlling that space that's allowed here for Vinicius to run in behind. But what I'd say for this to work, possibly, which I would go out and say it wouldn't, is that we would need our other wing back to fall back to make a back four while
Yeah.
this goes down. So
Yeah.
all of a sudden you see that now that Alonso would have a lot of responsibility of becoming that left back while everything goes down, right? Because if we're gonna have this is normal, by the way. This isn't crazy anything I'm asking of Alonso, because normally when one wing back pushes forward, the other one will drop back to make a back four to cover gaps. So all of a sudden you can see gaps is closing here. One thing I would rather too is that I know a lot of people love the intensity of Kante and Kovacic, but I would also feel that if you're going to do this tactic, I would rather have a six sitting down here, just to make things a little harder for Benzema and Vinicius to run in behind. Keep a little more compact in defense. And this is how I'd probably defend using basically we would defend probably using a 4-1-4-1, as Tuchel likes to do. So it wouldn't be something really different I'm asking Tuchel to do in this little explanation here. It's a 4-1-4-1. But Ms., as you said, this is Loftus-Cheek. I would say Loftus-Cheek, in the grand scheme, improves our attack by probably 2 out of 10, right? So let's just say, or even not by much, and is what he brings more than Reece James in attack, which is not by much, worth all we would have to go through defensively to cover the gaps. And I think that it isn't worth that much, even though we have to score 2 goals, which will be a big dilemma for Tuchel, saying that what balance do we really want from defense and attack? Are we going to throw the kitchen sink to it, or are we still going to be conservative and have a balance of our game? I think that for me personally, I don't think it's worth it. Even though he brings these good things, I bring a balanced view, I bring the good and the bad throughout this 23 minutes so far. I don't think the good Loftus-Cheek brings an attack is worth the bad it could bring to our defense. And our attack as a result, because now we can't have Alonso bowing forward, so we can't have Werner going into striking positions, so we can't have Kai going wide, and our whole plan is probably, disrupts a bit. I wouldn't opt for having Loftus-Cheek, long story short, as a right wing back.
Fair enough. I think it's good to realize what you said, that attackingly, maybe it just improves a little bit, but it's not worth taking that risk when defensively there could be a lot of flaws. As you said, you don't expect Ruben Loftus-Cheek to be marking Vinicius, because if that's what he's doing, then forget about him attacking. And then that would have impact on Alonso's side as well. Whereas if we were to have a traditional someone like Reece James, he's more capable of tracking back, defending, and doing that grind. And similarly with the ball, he may not give all the impetus of Ruben Loftus-Cheek being in that inverted position, but you would hope that Reece James is going to give that similar sort of wing back play that he's shown to give throughout this season, I suppose. Being more wide, whipping in crosses from wide areas, and at times getting into the box, into that very wide zone, and taking shots from those areas. Look, this is why I said, ladies and gentlemen, it's not going to be the same. For us to think that it will be the same gameplay like we did against Southampton, that would be very naive. And we'll obviously do the preview for the Real Madrid game, but Ryan probably won't be around for the preview. He's definitely going to be there for the tactical side of things post-match, and he's definitely going to be there for the watch-along. Before we wrap things up, Ryan, I do want to ask you then, we've now seen what Ruben Loftus-Cheek did against Southampton and why it kind of worked. We explored what it may be if we use him, but there is flaws. And you've now sort of come to a conclusion that you'd not opt with him because of the defensive deficiencies. The question that I want to end with, and I want to ask you, and I want people to ponder, I suppose, something to take away from this video, is, Ryan, what would you do against Real Madrid? Considering we will most likely play a back three, wing backs, double pivot, three up front. How would you try and open this Real Madrid up with how you've explained they defend?
Wow. I would go. We would have to dismantle them step by step. I don't think Real Madrid will sit back in a deeply low block, right? But I do believe they'll defend in a mid to low block, which is different, right? So instead of your center backs being next to your keeper, they'll be more on the edge of the box. That's what I tell mid to low block. So I believe this, as I said in the video earlier, is you need to break down that back five step by step. First, you get out one of the wing back, then you stretch the third center back, then you stretch the middle center back, then you penetrate. That's what we'd have to do. Doing that, I would still like to see our wing back be working from inverted positions. We've seen many times that Reece James could do that. He's done it really well.
We've seen it earlier in the season when both, I think Chilwell was as well at times inverted.
Exactly. So I would, and even in Southampton, we saw Alonso driving through from the midfield too. So we saw more impetus from our team, a more, like conscious effort to drive from inverted position from our wing backs. So I would go with Reece James as an inverted wing back, not as a wide wing back. I would have Kai, getting into wide positions, trying to stretch that back line, and I would have Timo on the wing, becoming striker, because I feel that even though he wouldn't score or whatever, I still just have in those runs,
just stretch them out,
stretching that back line and penetrating those spaces. It will create chances, if not for Timo to cut it back for a Mount to score, somebody else.
His pace is something Real Madrid defenders will be weary about. Do you know what I mean? Like, they wouldn't want to just let him hover around by himself.
What I like is that Real Madrid is not used to having a back five, so their wide center backs might be a little inexperienced and when not to get out of position. Even the wing backs to Valverde and Mendy, they wouldn't know that they're not supposed to come out so far. So this could be working our advantage. Also, I would probably, even though I said I would love Jorginho to be a 6 sometimes, I think I would keep Kovacic and Kante because I think they would have the intensity in midfield to win back that ball if needed.
Yeah,
I think Jorginho is lacking the intensity right now to close down players. For my back three, I'd go Christensen, Thiago Silva, Rudiger, and then for wing back, I'd go Alonso because we need goals. So.
You need goals. And Alonso just has this tendency of how to creep into the box somehow, always. Like that first goal against Southampton. Lovely cross from Ruben Loftus-Cheek, finds Mason Mount. And guess who Mason lays it off for? Inside the box, very deep inside the box, Alonso. So people sometimes, he does move slowly, but he has this tendency of stealthily moving into the box. Like no one really realizes that. Yeah.
After all this time, the two guys to save us is gonna be 2 goals from Alonso, 2 goals from Bimo Burner to carry us into the semi-final.
All the slander, that the fan base has given these
Or,
two, but
what about you, Miss? Let me ask you the question. How do you think Chelsea is going to win? Because I won't be talking to you tomorrow before the match, so I won't get to see you till. But what I'll try to do for the match, watch along. You know how we always come 20 minutes before.
yeah.
Watching the lineups, I'll pull out the board for 5 minutes and try to predict what's gonna happen because it says a lot. The lineup says a lot. So, but
It
how do
does.
you? We're gonna break them down.
It does. That's a big question for me as well. Look, I'm not a tactical guru like you, but
Me too.
me too.
I'm Robin. I live in here, bro.
But you know what? We might actually start that watch along 30 minutes before, if that's what you've got planned. I think that'll be really good. We'll give ourselves a bit more time to really dig deep into that.
To see Arvid happy too. We needed to be happy for at least half an hour. You know.
That guy. I don't want him to be happy that day. My thoughts exactly as well. Because from what I've saw with Real Madrid, I saw the exact same thing. They defend with a back five, and they're very compact. They're very organized. We do need to pull some of their defenders out. How do we do that? We would need some form of pace. We can't just have players like, and this is why, as much as I love Ziyech, but Ziyech is not going to pull players out with his pace. Kai Havertz is very pacey. People don't realize he is actually quite pacey. Timo Werner is pacey. Lukaku ain't going to do that, and Lukaku's injured as well. So maybe it is a right moment to give Timo Werner that chance again. And I think he's got some sort of a chemistry with Kai Havertz as well. They seem to sort of understand from their German, I suppose, connection, and maybe carry that on. My only issue is, can Alonso do what he did with Southampton, just creeping into those areas, but at the same time having that heart and desire to be able to run back? Because if any of those passes, the second balls that we don't win, then Real Madrid's going to exploit that.
And the good thing is on that side, it has Valverde, right?
Yeah.
That is
So
the only good thing about us. Yeah, that's the only thing good with it. So as opposed to, so we can, but that's if Ancelotti uses those same tactics. It could be different.
Correct.
But I feel they'll stick with the back five, though. They will stick with the back five.
Ancelotti could very well, Ryan, go with someone like Rodrigo and Valverde instead of Toni Kroos, let's say. Do you know what I mean? And Valverde could be very much in the midfield with Casemiro and Modric.
That would be, having both of those guys on the wings, Rodrigo and Vinicius, that could be a problem for us
and
on the transition.
And that could very well be one of the things that they could try, because they don't really need to chase the game. They're 2 ahead. They don't need to force anything, any questions. They need to see what Chelsea has to, ask them.
I hope Tuchel eats those chocolates, bro, before that Real Madrid match, because that, so I don't know why, but I just have this good feeling going into Tuesday. I had this bad feeling last week. While y'all were confident, I had a bad feeling. So I have a good feeling. Maybe it's because I just drank hot chocolate, so now the chocolate's affecting me now. But bro, I just have this feeling, this weird feeling that Chelsea. You know what? I don't have no weird feeling. Join the Chelsea hive now, the Tuchel hive. No, because we're not accepting anybody after Tuesday.
Oh my God, Ryan! So this is the guy who's been bashing Chelsea the past few weeks.
Join the Tuchel hive now. The Bimo Burner pacing pound.
The Bimo Burner, the Pipe Havertz.
Yeah, because we're gonna win. We're gonna create that remontada. That night in Madrid, in inverted commas, that night in Madrid is gonna happen on Tuesday.
That's gonna be the title.
Let's go.
If we go through. Bro, I'm just feeling it, man. I'm just feeling it. I'm feeling a special night.
It's different from last time, bro. We're gonna that night in Madrid. Remember it. That's what it's gonna be labeled in our post-match review. The remontada.
Remember it. Advaid, here's a message for you. There's a
That
message for
night
you.
in
Remember
Madrid, bro.
it.
Well, Advid is up 4 a.m. watching his team knocked out of the Champions League by Chelsea's.
And
Come
I am
on.
not gonna hold back either, right? I will be laughing at his face.
And
When
he was
we
nice to us,
win.
though. He was nice.
I
to
don't
us,
care.
though.
I'm not like that. I'm a bad guy.
But
Oh man.
I'm putting myself on record here. We will be in the semi-final
I love this. I love
of the
this.
FA Cup in the weekend.
Don't you do that, right, bro? On that note, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys have enjoyed this. This was a special video that we did. I feel like I've learned a lot as well with that whole Ruben Loftus-Cheek scenario, and I hope you all have enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed what Ryan has just demonstrated as well. And check out Ryan and his socials in the description. Please follow him on Twitter. Let's build up that following base. I think he's hit more than 15,000. Let's try and get to that 20,000 mark. Hope you all have enjoyed this. Smash the like button. If you're here for the first time, subscribe, hit the bell notification, and we will catch you all very, very soon. See ya.